everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Alec Walt Show. I'm your host, Alec Walt, a proud St. Bonaventure alum, and the Bonnies are dancing the 2021 Atlantic 10 Tournament champions. The Bonnies have a game against LSU this Saturday in the opening round of the NCAA Tournament. And helping us preview that matchup is the voice of the Bonnies, Gary Nease. Gary, welcome to the show. I really appreciate you joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Alec, and getting all excited. I know the Olean area we're still a few days away from this game, and everybody's talking about it wherever you go in town right now.
Yeah, it's an exciting matchup. The Bonnies were in the tournament just a few years ago. This team has one of a very quality starting five, playing some solid defense, so they should be a team that's talked about very much around the Olean area. Let's talk about, Gary, to start off the show. It must be weird for you as a radio broadcaster in 2021. Obviously, COVID-19 restrictions like that, going to the stadium, you were able to go to some home games. What's it like broadcasting a college basketball game? Now, obviously, Dayton's situation was different, but without any fans.
Well, it was really strange. Even at Riley Center, I mean, they were allowed to put some background noise in, but what it sounded like was a big cocktail party. I mean, there's no chance. There's no "Let's Go Bonnas." There's no defense. There's no yelling at the officials. There's no, and the noise was kept to kind of a minimum. So, and you know how Riley Center can being a four-year student. I mean, there's times, and I tell people I love it when I have to turn and read the lips of my color guy because I can't hear him in my headset. And that's how Riley Center is. And it wasn't that atmosphere this year. Now the team adapted very well. Obviously, as they only lost once at home this year, but it just wasn't the same. And doing the games remotely on the road, I got to one, and that was last Sunday's game at Dayton. The rest of the road games done from the confines of my boss's office TV, and that was even worse than being at Riley Center.
I could not imagine commentating a game out of that office. I've been in a couple times. So good for you for getting through this year. Obviously, listening to you on the radio is awesome. You have an outstanding voice, have unbelievable knowledge on this team. So I want to talk about the Atlantic 10 tournament. The two games before the Bonnies are obviously playing LSU. We beat St. Louis, defeats LSU, VCU, two teams that are very physical. Obviously, when you get to the NCAA tournament, you play some of these Power 5 teams, you are going to be playing more physical teams. I want to talk about the Bonnies' defense. The defense has been spectacular. Oshun Oshuni was just named Atlantic 10 Defensive Player of the Year. Gary, comment on what you saw from the Bonnies on the defensive half of the court these last couple games.
Well, the one thing that I saw, and if you want to include physical play, that first tournament game against Duquesne, that was hand-to-hand combat more than it was a basketball game. But all three of those games, the Bonnies did a great job. They have all to a man bought into Coach Mark Schmidt's defense, which is switching, doing a lot of switching out front, keeping your man in front of you, not letting them penetrate. And when they do that, they are as tough as any defense in the country. And we saw it 3 straight games against Duquesne, against St. Louis, and then Sunday against VCU. They just did not let them penetrate and kick the ball out for threes or go to the basket. They got a little bit late in that second half against VCU on Sunday where VCU was able to penetrate a little bit. But for the most part of the game, they could not get inside. And when they did, Oshun was waiting for them. 13 block shots in those 3 games and probably triple that, the number of shots he altered or made them think about. And that's the key, I think, for any Bonaventure success in this tournament coming up, is that Oshun, cannot get in foul trouble. He has to stay aggressive and still stay out of foul trouble. He is the back line for this defense, and he's the reason. And every player to a man will tell him that Oshun is their guy. They can take some chances out front, try to get some steals, knowing that he's back there taking care of mistakes.
So looking at the last couple games, obviously we mentioned VCU was the team St. Bonaventure defeat in the Atlantic 10 championship game. Looking at the matchup against LSU, Will Wade, the coach of LSU, used to coach at VCU. And obviously the Shaka Smart coaching tree has a ton of similarities in the way they play. We still see that now at VCU. But Gary, comment on how playing a team like VCU last week is going to help a team prepare for that system against LSU.
Well, I actually had a conversation with associate head coach Steve Curran this morning And he said that it's a little bit of the benefit for Bonaventure to play LSU because they have seen this offense, because Will Wade brought the offense that he ran from VCU to LSU, and he said it hasn't changed much since Shaka Smart was there. So you've got the same offense that they have seen for 7 years against VCU that they're going to face with probably a few better players. That would be a big difference. But as far as the strategy and patterns, plays, it looks very similar. So he said we're not going to see something we haven't seen before. And he said that could be a little bit to Bonaventure's advantage in this game, because he said you're not going to see the havoc. If you remember Shaka Smart naming his defense Havoc, and they just scrambled and double teamed all over the floor. You're not going to. I don't think you'll see that with LSU. They don't do that as much as VCU has done in the past. So there may not be that much pressure on the point guard until after they get over half court. Then the Bonnies still have to do what they've done all year: be very strong with the ball and keep the turnovers down.
So you talked about a couple good players, better players on LSU. We saw some quality performances in the SEC championship game. So give us a little breakdown of the LSU Tigers, if you don't mind.
Well, they're big. That's the first thing you look at when I got to look at the roster. The point guard's 6'4" and 210. He's built like a linebacker, and he's the point guard. And then they get bigger from there. Cameron Thomas, their shooting guard, he's an NBA prospect, just a freshman, averaging 23 points a game. He will take the ball to the basket. He'll shoot the three. Excellent shooter. You can't let him get hot. Kind of like Bones Highlands, one of those things. If he hits the first couple, look out. He's going to be there all game. He's the guy they feed off. They've got some big inside players as well. And one of the guys that they have I think he could be a key in this game. His name is Darius Days, and he's one of those guys that Bonnies always seem to have trouble with. He's not that tall, but he's big. He's 6'7", 245. And, I keep thinking back of people like Mo Alley Cox for VCU, or even Hassan French from St. Louis. He's built that way, and he's just a bull inside. And he averages 11 points a game, 12 points a game. The point guard averaging 16 a game while he's handing out assists. And then they've got the big forward out there who is averaging about 17 a game, and 6'9", 240, and he loves to play the perimeter.
So that's interesting. LSU, again, a big physical team. You mentioned the Bonnies are a team that likes to switch defensively. They're a team that does a lot of things like that. But, when you're playing like guys that are much larger 4s, 5 size like that, when the Bonnies switch, do you think that if they switch on some of these guys that are that big, that they're going to be at a disadvantage at this matchup?
Well, it's worked so far this year. The guys, as we said, they will switch. Oshun probably not as much as the others, but Mark Schmidt has been able to work his pack line defense and throw a couple of wrinkles in from time to time. He knows that when the ball goes down low, he's going to have to double team, try to get the ball out of their hands and get the ball kicked back out where his guards can recover. But they have thrown some wrinkles in. And Mark Schmidt is great for watching video and finding ways to attack other teams' offenses. We saw it Sunday. He seemed to have noted that Bones Highland every once in a while would turn his back to the basket to try to get ready to go, and the Bonnies took advantage of that by bringing somebody from his blind side up to double team him and take the ball away. Saw that with Dom Welsh and Kyle Lofton getting breakaway layups doing that. So you find little things when you watch all that video to find little things to disrupt their offense, and you try to and the other thing is hustle. I mean, the Bonnies, they're not going to back down from anybody. It doesn't matter how big they are, but they are quick, and I think deceptively quick, and they're able to recover quickly, and they've done a good job of that so far this year.
So I want to continue here with the Bonnies for a second. One thing that's been a weakness for this team is also a weakness for LSU is depth. And obviously Mark Schmidt's a coach. If he wants to, he's going to have all his guys play 40 minutes plus if we go to OT. He's a coach that likes to do that. We've seen Bonaventure players amongst the top of the NCAA year after year after year, ranking high in minutes played. Against St. Louis, pretty early when there was an injury to Jalen Attaway, Mark Schmidt had to point to Alejandro Vasquez. We've seen other depth pieces play, but in that tournament specifically, they they didn't look bad. They came in, they were productive. They were still able to make things happen when they didn't play when they're starting five. Gary, how confident are you in this matchup right now that if Mark Schmidt points to a few guys on his bench that they can be productive in this matchup?
Well, you said a few guys, and of course he's only got 9 scholarship players right now on the team. So he's got A.J. Vasquez as his first guy off the bench. If Oshun needs a breather or gets in foul trouble, you got Jalen Shaw and Eddie Creel, a junior college transfer, comes in and gives him a couple of minutes wherever he can. But the big thing is with this team is that the bench has done its job since the A-10 tournament. A.J. Vasquez, the bodies have been waiting for him for the game to slow down for him. He is a bundle of energy, and he provides some energy off the bench. But they're waiting for things so he sees things a little quicker and can react. And the last 3 games, especially in the tournament, he has done a solid job, not only offensively hitting some key threes, but defensively. He's there rebounding. He made a great hustle rebound Sunday. Saved a possession for the Bonnies. And, little things like that. He stole a ball away from Yuri Collins against St. Louis, a guy who was, I think, 5-to-1 assists to turnovers. He's in open court. He did that. So AJ has been playing very solid basketball for the Bonnies, and Jalen Shaw, little used, but he just seems to be at the right place at the right time. A big offensive rebound basket Sunday. When Oshun had foul trouble early at Duquesne, he came in, did a great job. So Mark is getting probably the maximum effort out of his bench for only having 3 guys and playing them that little. They seem to be ready when they're called on.
That's awesome. Great to see that they've been able to perform here, specifically late in the season as we get closer to the NCAA tournament. All right, Gary, look at the Bonnie strengths, look at LSU strengths, and things like that. With this matchup, who would you believe is the X factor for St. Bonaventure?
X factor, boy. Again, it was. I
mentioned a few names.
I had this question asked a couple of times yesterday with other interviews, and it's hard to call an X factor. You've got 5 solid players out there for St. Bonaventure. Jalen Attaway has done a remarkable job being a 6'5", 210-pound power forward. He has the ability to be an X factor because he can draw a defender out to the 3-point line, and he can also drive the basket. He's a very tough defender. He's a good rebounder. You've got Dom Welsh, who's been playing solid basketball all over the floor. Dom's one of those guys you call a stat stuffer. He goes along, and all of a sudden you look at his stat line, and there he is with points, rebounds, steals, block shots, you name it. Whatever he can do to help the team, he's doing. Kyle Lofton has been steady all year, and of course you've got Oshun on the back line, and then Jaron Holmes. He's been in a little mini slump shooting, but he has the ability to break a game open with his shooting. You can't not guard him at the 3-point line. He had 8 threes in a game earlier this year. If you go out there, then he takes you right to the basket. He's got the size to go in and challenge inside. So those 5 guys, they're all X factors because they can do everything. Kyle Lofton held scoreless in a game, but he had 10 assists. These guys don't care what their numbers are. The only number they care about is the one on the scoreboard at the end of the game.
That's awesome. I love hearing that, especially as we get closer to the NCAA tournament. Kyle's been awesome. His ability to make plays, no matter whether he's scoring or passing the ball, has been unbelievable. You mentioned his name before, Jalen Attaway. He was a player that joined the starting lineup this past year, joined the core that's together. How much of a difference has it been with him on this team? Because he's been amazing this first year in St. Bonaventure.
Well, he was talented. At one point last year, when I had a chance to talk with Coach Schmidt on the side, he told me that Jalen Attaway was the best player in practice about 4 or 5 times, where he was beating up the starters. Of course, he couldn't play because of the transfer rules, so he's playing on the practice squad. And he said he's the best player on the floor, and so he knew what he had coming with Attaway getting into the lineup. And the one thing with Jalen that has happened over the last several games, the first half of the season, he was very hesitant to shoot the 3. He can shoot it. He spent, I don't know how many hours in the gym working on that. And he just was hesitant. He thinks that there's a better shot other than his 3-point shot. And then finally, when his teammates convinced him, hey, take the shot. We're getting tired of passing you the ball only to get it back. We set you up for the 3, take it. and he started to deliver late in the season. The game at Davidson, he hits the game-winning three and did not hesitate on that shot. He was 2 out of 3 against VCU on Sunday. He's no longer afraid to take that shot. He still kind of looks inside, but if he hesitates once, the players and the coaches around him yelling at him to take the shot because he's a very capable shooter.
So looking at the new structure of the NCAA tournament, like the last time the Bonnies were here in this position, they played the Atlantic 10 tournament, lost in the final, played a play-in game, and then played Florida. I think it was five games in like 8 days or so.
Yeah.
This year we had two games, a week off, a game, another week off to play LSU. The Bonnies showed no rust in that game against VCU. They played phenomenal, which is why they were able to win the title. Talk about how the new structure could either help. It could help a team like St. Bonaventure, who looked really good when they had that time off for VCU.
Well, obviously, when you've got a team that plays a lot of minutes like St. Bonaventure does, again, 5 starters are up over 30 minutes a game. You need to get some rest. And talking with Coach Schmidt last week, he said that after the game against St. Louis, they took 2 days off. They had no basketball activity for 2 days. If the guys wanted to go and shoot in the gym, they could, but they didn't have anything organized. And then they did a very soft practice maybe for a couple of days, and they really got to work on VCU on Thursday and Friday, and then, of course, headed out to Dayton on Friday afternoon. So I assume that they're probably doing the same thing here. Because it was a hard, even though they won it and it had a 9-point advantage and had the lead, it was a very physical game. So that they needed the rest. So I'm, and of course they're all excited winning the Atlantic 10. I don't think there was a whole lot of sleep after that game on Sunday night. Of course they waited in the hotel and saw who they were going to play. Then they got out of the hotel and drove right to Indianapolis. So they got there late at night, Sunday or early Monday morning. And Monday, yesterday, probably very slow days. And then they'll start ramping things up. And talking with Steve Curran this morning, he said that the bubble is amazing. He said anything we want is there. Practice courts, training facilities, weight room is there if you want to do weights. And so they've been able to get some things in that they want to, and they'll have practice time coming. Of course, you've got 68 teams there right now trying to get some practice time in, but and everything's very scheduled. So they're not going to get a court for 3 hours like Coach Schmidt likes to do every once in a while, but they'll get their practice in. But the big thing is they were able to rest, and they'll have their legs under them when they play Saturday.
Awesome. Again, a lot of minutes. Get some rest. Should be good for a Bonnie's team that's going to be playing a very physical LSU Tiger team. Gary, the final question I have for you, they always talk about in the NCAA tournament, it's how you're playing right now. St. Bonaventure won the Atlantic 10, played 2 very physical teams, playing very solid defense with a quality starting 5, a quality head coach. How far do you think this team can make it in the NCAA tournament?
Well, you turn around, you win this game, and you turn around and get the number 1 seed. So that's you're going to play. I would assume you're going to play Michigan. I don't see Michigan losing to the teams that are going to play in tomorrow night. But Michigan has just been a very solid squad all season. They had their COVID problems like everybody else, but they've been back on the court for several weeks now and playing quality basketball. I honestly think the Bonnies can get to the second round. Louisiana State's going to be favored. I think the Bonnies can win this game. Obviously, they have to play the way they have the last 3 to do that. And then then you get down to your 32 teams left after the Bonnies play, and one of them is right in front of the Michigan. But it's going to be again a very quality team. They're going to play Juwan Howard and their old friend Phil Martelli as the assistant head coach at Michigan. He knows everything about Bonaventure basketball, so that's going to be one advantage Michigan's going to have over St. Bonaventure. Well, probably one of many advantages they'll have. But I think the Bonnies can get to the second round. We'll see what happens when they get that game in on Monday against Michigan.
Awesome. Well, hopefully the Bonnies can get past LSU. Michigan, again, one of the better teams in college basketball. A very tough one. Hopefully the Bonnies can get past LSU and give Michigan some problems in that second round game. Gary, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to speak with me on the Alec Walt Show.
Hey, no problem. My pleasure. And again, keep it going. It's a great show. I've been watching.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. I really do. You've been a mentor for me since I've started this broadcasting journey. So I'm not sitting here talking on the Alec Walt Show if it's not for Gary Nease. So outside of this show, for what you've been able to do for me for my career is something I cannot thank you enough for what you've done for me.
Well, I'm glad you took the ball and ran with it.
That's me for this episode of the Alec Walt Show. I'm Alec Walt alongside Gary Nease, the voice of St. Bonaventure. The Bonnies play this Saturday in the NCAA Tournament. You're going to want to check that out. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Down the Block Sports for more of my exclusive content. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you Saturday. Go Bonnies.